It's the KEVID19 Show, episode 5. Bye, bitch. I'm Kevin Berrey, your host. We're going to kick this off. Quite soon. I will be on YouTube taking comments. If you want to chat with me, I'm going to do a call-in show soon. If you want to call in, let me know. I might be able to plug you into the system. Okay. I think it's time. Yeah, it is time. Welcome to KEVID19, episode 5. Bye, bit. It's over. I mean, the election is. Now, I want to touch on some delightful memes that I've stumbled upon. There's a lot out there. And some of them are dubious. Some people might be like, well, this is not really good to be dancing on someone's grave like that. But a person's entitled to celebrate. There have been celebrations. There have been mischaracterizations, really. There have been a lot of confusions, too. Like, people... I got texts, I'm sure that you got them notifying us that the church bells are ringing in Paris because Joe Biden won. Shocked that they even know who Joe Biden is. I got news of the fireworks blasting off in London because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won. But it turns out that those were celebrations that were going on anyway. Those were church bells, I guess, for service. That people in France actually go to church, and the bells, they're a reminder. Man, does anyone else have eyebrows just getting completely out of control? Jamie Ignow, great to see you, brother. You are the best, okay? You the best. You are the best right now. Accept it. Live with it. And live with the results of the election, too. I mean, okay, they're still counting a few states. It's funny because we've always known that the votes, right? They count the votes, and then some news media folk announce the projected winners, and we've always, for the most part, been able to just stomach that and say, okay, let's move on with our lives. Except for 20 years ago in Florida when there was a little dust up. And yeah, that thing was, I remember that. I remember the fracas. It was frustrating that Al Gore, I mean, I barely remember it. I was barely born at that point, but yeah. And the thing that I remember most from it was that he contested the results, and they did recounts in Florida. And in the end, it went to the Supreme Court, and for whatever reason, they decided we got to wrap this thing up. We're not going to drag it out too long, and it looks like George Bush won by 537 votes or something. Some infinitesimal, I don't use that word often. Some infinitesimal, I'm sure it's pronounced the other way, amount of votes, and Bush walks away with the presidency. Now, that was just one state. It just came down to one state. It was that tight. I'm pretty sure that Gore won the popular vote, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, someone tell me. Great to see you, Jamie. Now, if you're listening to this, then yeah, you can't see Jamie, but I'm chatting with people on Facebook. If they're there, if you're there, if you're alive right now, if you're listening to this in the future, don't get in a time machine and travel back just to comment on this, because it's going to be out of It'll be out of sync. I mean, it would be interesting, actually, if you know what? Screw it. If you're in the future and you have access to a time machine, travel back in time to now, which is it's around 7:54 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and I'm gonna you can guess the date. I could tell you, it's November 10th, 2020. We still don't have a clear final answer on who the president of the United States is. We don't have a clear election yet. Mostly because the current president, I guess the incumbent, I don't know, whatever you want to call him, the guy who's the occupant of the White House now is he's a cranky little bitch, and he just doesn't want to give it up. He doesn't want to let go, and so he has a right, I guess, to fight whatever. Oh hey yo, you're ordering food, awesome, my brother. Glad that you're here. What kind of food are you getting? What are you picking up, bro? Or taking from, if you're not picking up? It's probably drop off. Let me know. I'm very food voyeuristic. I want to know what other people are eating, because I'm tempted to let my salivary glands just exude, you know? I mean, I'm gonna have to eat too soon. Look, let's jump on some memes here. I've got some fun stuff in store for you. Let's see what we've got. We've got some sweet ones. All right, here we go. We're in Meme City here. This is one I caught on Stephen Colbert's Twitter feed. This is a fun one.
Former Vice President Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States.
Nice. A little Shawshank. All right, bringing in Oprah. Bilbo Baggins. I didn't actually see that.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get late.
Shockingly, no cities were burned to the ground. There was a lot of fear that something was going to happen. No cities burned down. And up they go.
Former Vice President Joe Biden
All right,
will
so
be the next president of the United States.
That's got 1.2 million views. It's a bunch of celebrations. It's a bunch of emotional ejaculations about this whole scenario. Now, is it going to happen? I'm seeing now on this Twitter feed that Trump is suing to block Pennsylvania from certifying Biden's victory in the state. I don't know if it can be done. This is a guy who tries to win battles by court, and that's his thing. Yo, I'm back. I know you thought I was gone. I'm back. There was a little just a hiccup there for a second. Let's just take a peek here. Right. Where are we? I'm going to shrink my head down, and we're going to take a peek at this one. This is a fun one. This is on World Star, but it's on a lot of different spots. So I'm still here. Yo, you're ordering Chinese. That's what I'm talking about, Jamie. Oh, that's a cool combo. You get the Chinese food and the leek and potato soup mixed with ground turkey. Oh my Lord. See, I respect when people, when you bring takeout and then you incorporate it into existing food, because we have to innovate. I mean, that's where America's at right now, man. Like, we really have to bring... Yeah, exactly. So you cooked it last night, and now you're ordering Chinese. But see, I have food from last night. I think any meal, you can make it into a hybrid. Like, because sometimes also, like, yeah, what happens now is that we make food, we order food, especially in New York. I mean, I know a lot of people are ordering food out. It's just like to be constantly going to the grocery store and wearing the mask. It's irritating. So I think it's a good thing to combine a cooked meal with a little bit of takeout. It could be leftover takeout. Like last night, I had pizza, which I have made. It was frozen pizza. It's going to be our first sponsor, actually. It's DiGiorno's. And I also had sushi, which was takeout, but it was leftover takeout. So my thoughts on it, Jamie, is that go for it, man. Go for the gold. Combine that leek and potato soup with the ground turkey with the Chinese food as you see fit. We're entitled to it, man. You can do whatever you want when it comes to food combos. And if it's nasty, you just you don't eat it. But I think I'm thinking I'm probably going to order food as well. I mean, not during the podcast, but I'm hoping. I might have to talk to the wifey about that. But it's great. Sounds delicious. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it, talking about it. Now I'm going to jump onto this meme here. Let's take a look. If you didn't see this, maybe you were underneath the rock. But let's take a peek at this meme. Some people thought it was quite offensive. I didn't, but...
All of these states that we've won tonight. And then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by.
Okay.
Frankly, we did win this election.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. On your left.
World star. Nice.
Assemble.
Not bad. Not bad. I have to say that the combination of facial expressions, the reactions from, I have to say it's basically the open mouth reactions are what clinches it for me. This kind of Joe Biden turning around and then seeing the folks from Georgia, and then that right there when he reacts to Kamala that's gold, right? That reaction is it does. He pegged it. Yeah. Oh man. God bless Sean Connery and rest in peace. Indeed. Yeah. If that's the only person. Wait, is he in this? Don't tell me I missed him. Is he in this? I don't think he's in. Oh gosh, he is in the video. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, it's gold. It's gold. What a beautiful, goofy, fun video meme, man. Assemble Connery. Sad. It's a shame. You know, people, we get old, we pass on. It's part of life, but it sucks. And this brought a smile to my face. I know it's goofy. I know it's whatever. It's fun and silly. And I got to say, I'd be so curious to watch it. Somebody who is a hardcore Trump supporter, which I'm clearly not, but to see someone from that angle watching, I'd like to see their facial reactions. The disgust, I would assume, at jokes, I guess, made at the expense of their leader. But the thing is that there's nothing in it that, you know, I mean, I guess the vote counting part, you could be really pissed off about that if you think that's illegal or something, that all votes should be counted. But if you think that, you know, fuck out of here. It's such a shameful argument that there a massive amount of illegal votes. If it does exist, which from what we've seen, it doesn't. It's not a thing. There's not some massive amount of illegal votes, bro. Yes, in power and spirit, Sean Connery is here. I'm so glad that you're here, Jamie. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and I want to look at his catalog again. That's to me, I'm not going to say it's a good thing about people dying. It's sad when people die. That we have no control over it. It happens, but occasionally the one silver lining is that, yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for sharing. Look, occasionally when someone passes, it does bring me back to their work in a way that is, it's a remembrance. You know, it's like a memorial. Like I remember and I go back and I explore it and I appreciate it. And it sucks that we have so many artists that are known and that grow in stature in their death. And this happens a lot in fine art, you know, in painters and stuff. People who just you never got around to seeing their work and they die, and then you see it and you're like, holy cow, I wish I'd known about this. And then also obviously the price of all their work goes up. That's a whole other market thing. But in this case, we all knew Sean Connery and love the guy, dear guy. So I move on from memes to something a little more serious. We got to stare this down here. And I'm talking about sealed indictments. Now, I'm sure people are talking about it. There's discussion. You've heard something about it. I would guess. I would assume. I would assume that you might be wondering, like, is Trump? Will the Southern District of New York be waiting with handcuffs when Donald Trump leaves office? And is that one of the things that's driving him so hard to fight against this loss, this clear crushing, drubbing that he's gotten in the polls? Now, yeah, a lot of support as well. I mean, the guy got more votes than any sitting president, but it doesn't matter if your opponent got more votes than anyone who's ever run for president, because that means you've been smushed. Now, I've seen a number of things. Let's see if there's something we can pull up here. Oh, we're looking at it right now. If Trump doesn't win in 2020, will the Southern District of New York be waiting with cuffs when he walks out of office? The thing is, it looks like something is going down. I was looking at this earlier actually this was last week. I was looking at this. So we've got some criminality already in the Trump administration that people just associate with it. And I was looking it up because I was like, so many people have been cuffed and marched out of Trump's campaign, out of the White House, out of his orbit. And it just seems like way more than I've heard have been arrested in other presidencies during other, administrations. And this thing, we're saying that there have been 317 criminal indictments under 3 recent Republican presidents and only 3 indictments under 3 recent Democratic presidents. And it's not, they say it's half true, right? Obviously, Nixon is one of those ones that brought in a number of indictments. The numbers that that it whittles down to is more like we're talking about roughly 142 versus 3. So it's 142 indictments in the past 3 Republican administrations, and there's 3 criminal indictments in the last 3 Democratic administrations. And that's going all the way back to Nixon, I believe, in the 60s and 69. So it lists 215 from Trump, which is, I don't think that's true. But it is a lot of indictments. The thing about it is that some of these are like when it came to the whole Russia collusion, if you want to call it, or corruption. The 25 of the people indicted during that investigation were Russians. They weren't part of Trump's administration, but they were undermining the election, and that's legit. That's true, and they were indicted for a reason. So that is that's a fact. And yeah, then you've got all the other dudes who are indicted and have the dozen or so that were in his administration. And don't quote me on that. It might be less than a dozen. It might be more, but it's around there. Maybe it's 7 people. I don't want to over exaggerate, but I mean, I do. So yeah, the indictments are coming. I don't think that that's something that you can deny. And I don't think that's, you can't take that off the table in terms of the motivation. There's so many negative motivations for our elections. It's like, you know, people, if we rewind back, you remember that the main reason that Donald Trump got elected was because people felt negatively about Hillary Clinton. People were not psyched about her. She did not have the stage presence, the woo. She didn't have the za 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 bam that you want as a presidential. Yeah, I say bring the cuffs. Not for Hillary, but that's the part of it to me that is there's a delicious irony to this. There's a hypocrisy buried into all these arguments that come from Donald Trump. I almost want to play his response to the election counts coming in, because you can go line by line, and everything that he accuses other people of is actually coming back and haunting him in the moment in his life. This lock her up thing. I mean, there was criminality in his campaign while he was doing that. You had people, they weren't necessarily being criminals in whatever, in the spirit of Trump or for the sake of him, but Paul Manafort, you have people, you have the guy who was, I don't remember the dude, the youngest guy who was indicted, I think it was the first one as well, who was indicted because he had made contacts with Russian officials and was trying to set up a meeting with Donald Trump. And he was basically sussed out by the Russians, by the Russian Secret Service, what have you. They sought this dude out in London and tried to use him as a disinformation funnel and also as a guy to connect with Donald Trump. So you can't, when he's screaming, lock her up, and it turns out there's nothing, never locked her up. There was no charge. There was no, nothing, no weight behind that. There is something behind him and behind his campaign, at least behind the people around him. And now it looks like, when you look at the things that came out, like the fact that he never had to sit for a grand jury. This dude never had to answer to Robert Mueller because investigators were concerned that if that happened, he might shut the thing down, or people on his side were concerned that if it happened, he might implicate himself and make himself guilty. If he were to lie on, the dude can't talk without lying, so he would definitely commit treason, and he would lie. So the fact that they kept him off the stand is it's pathetic. And do I want to see, like, I want to see justice. That's all. I think we deserve that. And the stuff that the Southern District of New York is talking about, it has to do with tax and insurance fraud, as far as I understand. And I'm pretty sure they're ready to rock at the moment the dude walks out of the. Oh yeah, you know what? I will play it. Screw it. Let's find. Let's take a look at Trump's reaction. Let's see here. Yeah, because Donald Trump remarks after election. It's going to fight it for weeks. Fact check. But yeah, okay, so CNN is calling this the most dishonest speech of his presidency. This is great. Let's see if we can take a peek at this. Okay. Yeah, it's. I remember when it came out. I was actually having difficulty finding it. Some news organizations didn't even want to hold it. Oh, here's his victory speech. Full speech. No, that's not it. That's his victory speech the first time he stole the election. Got to go to YouTube, man. It's the only way. So, this looks good. Funny video after election? I don't think it's funny. I like how people are... Okay, says he's being cheated. Okay. Gosh, they make it so damn hard to find a video. I'm just going to go straight to YouTube and look for it there. So, let's throw some music on. See where we're at here. I know I've seen... Here we are on YouTube. This window's too big, man. The thing is... When this came out, I was so disgusted because the guy, well, we just have to watch it. There's no other way to go about it. Let's take a peek here. Trump. Whoops, that's that. Trump. Post-election cheat. Pretty sure cheating is in it. Baseless claims. Okay, here we go. Full speech. All right, we got it.
Good evening. I'd like
Let's take a peek here.
Provide the American people with an update on our efforts to protect the integrity of our very important 2020 election. If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
Oh, really?
If you count the illegal votes, they can try to...
What up? I'm back. Let's jump in here. Still here. Just had a little hiccup there. And we're back. Let's take a peek.
I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio.
Okay. So we grant him victories, massive victories. I remember it being pretty tight in Florida.
To name just a few, we won these and many other victories despite historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech.
Okay, historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech. Now, I would argue that Donald Trump has actually instigated interference using his platforms on big tech by lying about fraud, by making up false claims that people who believe everything he says, no matter what, jump behind. He certainly has used right-wing media. I mean, we don't have an objective media now. We haven't had one since 1987 when we used to have a law it's called the Fairness Doctrine. And Ronald Reagan kiboshed it. He got rid of it. There was an attempt to hew to it. I think if you look at like public broadcasts like NPR, there's a couple of platforms where they don't have where they're like still publicly they behave in a way that they're obligated to talk about both sides of political issues, especially election related, which is why some people just hate listening to NPR because they hate that they have to slide in. Well, the other side seems to believe that Donald Trump was cheated and there was a severe voter fraud, but the evidence appears to be this. And it's like, dude, why are you even... It sucks that you have to give voice to that. But anyway, that doesn't exist anymore. So we don't have an objective media. So depending on if it's right-wing or left-wing media, you're being manipulated. Although some... Let's see what else he has to say.
Numbers, and the pollsters got it knowingly wrong. They got it knowingly wrong.
Historic numbers.
It was so ridiculous.
Okay, I don't think the pollsters, to say they're knowingly wrong, I think that they were genuinely trying to get it right because they knew they screwed up the last time. It turns out that pollsters and poll takers suck. Yeah, it's a shame Oh, thanks, bro. It's a shame that the science, or maybe it's just a loose art or a dark art, some sort of magic that these guys and men and women go out and try to interview Americans doesn't work. But it seems like people who obsequiously love and follow this dude who lies more than any president has ever lied. There's something like 20,000 documented lies according to the Washington Post, I believe, and certainly more than that, because that was like a couple months ago. So people who love a liar are not going to be jumping on the phone with pollsters who they've been told not to trust because they're from the mainstream media and tell them the truth necessarily. And a lot of people who vote for this guy are ashamed of it. They don't want to be hated. Okay, it's not that they know that the opinion is not it's not held by most other people, especially people outside of these pockets of conservatism. And yeah, I could totally see them saying, look, I don't want to be hated by some stranger, so no, I'm just going to say I didn't vote for him, or I'm not going to vote, or I voted for Biden. And you can basically skew polls that way as well. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. So yeah.
Everybody knew it at the time. There was no blue wave that they predicted. They thought there was going to be a big blue wave. That was false. It was done for
It turns out that the blue wave thing, I mean, it did play out in that all those Rust Belt states that Hillary Clinton had lost in the last presidential election flipped to Joe Biden, except for he's claiming there's, Republicans are claiming that Pennsylvania is still up for grabs, but it's like tens and tens of thousands of votes in Biden's lead. So it's highly unlikely there's close to enough fraud to have that many ballots that were manipulated. It's just a lie.
But instead there was a big red wave, and it's been properly.
The red wave as the wave of Russian interference for the 2016 election, which this dude denies. So he's inventing interference that doesn't exist, right? And then he's denying the interference that does exist. So the lies, they're like, we're talking about triple-decker club sandwich. There's a piece of bread on the top, bottom, and the middle, and a lot of garbage in between.
They acknowledged, actually, by the media, they were.
Oh no. I'm gonna have to hop out of this real quick and switch. I don't know if you guys have to deal with these ads on YouTube, but if you do,
good evening. I'd like to
I highly recommend
the American people with
that
an
you
update on our efforts to protect the integrity of our very important 2020 election.
You find somebody that has an account that is professional, premium, and you just use that. But if you do find that person, you might want to make love to him as well. I mean, you're gonna have to pay for it somehow. So let's jump ahead here. We're not going to watch the whole 16 minutes.
Be a big blue wave. That was.
Yeah, we said there was actually a blue wave.
It
wasn't as big as we wanted, and actually it sucks that it wasn't a clear drubbing.
Hundreds of millions of dollars overall. Today, he said he couldn't believe it. 0 races, very unusual things. Yet for the first time ever, we lost 0 races in the House. I was talking to Kevin McCarthy today.
Is that true? 0? Because I know the Democrats were defending something like 30 seats, and they did lose about a dozen, but they still have a majority in the House. I don't know. I don't want to get into the weeds there, but I don't think that's true.
Years, including historic numbers of Latino applicants, are the party of the big donors, the big media, the big tech.
Okay, the party of the big donors. I think Donald Trump definitely raised more than $100 million in his first election in 2016. And the guy's a billionaire. He brags about his billionaire friends. We know that there is a huge pile of dark money going into Republican elections. It also goes into the Democratic side of elections. But it's a Republican administration, Republicans in the judiciary that have created a world where, with this whole Citizens United ruling, where dark money from anonymous donors like the Koch brothers is now seems to be a permanent fixture in all of our elections. And it's the most corrupting, disgusting thing about our elections is these corporate interests, people who are trying to manipulate laws to create laws that they just hand to legislators and say, hey, pass this. And it ends up being great for a mine or a mining company, but it creates a huge lake in the middle of your city that's so toxic, 70 geese land on it during a storm and they all die. That's Butte, Montana. There's a reason, and that's a hardcore Republican place. They know that this corporate money, this dark money, it's been in our country for over a century, and it used to be horribly corrupting. It screwed over workers. People died. Their rights were obliterated and or just abused. And the environment was completely polluted and trashed because, yeah, if corporations make the laws and they basically put the politicians into office and they own them, then it's not a government for the people at all. It screws us over. And people who love Donald Trump think that is the right direction. So I think both parties have big money behind them.
Seems, and Republicans
and it's
have become
gross
the party
both
of
ways.
The American worker, and that's what's happened. And we're also, I believe, the party of inclusion. As
Oh,
everyone
God.
recognizes.
I mean, this sort of thing. We're the party of inclusion? Really? The one who called Mexicans rapists? The one who said there's very fine people on both sides of a Nazi march where one of the Nazi sympathizers ran over an anti-racist protester and killed her? No. The guy who told the racist white supremacist Proud Boys to stand by for when I lose the election and we need to start a race riot or whatever the hell he's going to try to do. No. Dude, this is not a party of it. So we can go through every statement, literally across the board, just boom, boom, boom. Everything he says, the opposite is true. It's almost easier. He's almost easier to understand than most politicians because you just have to flip what he's saying and understand, okay, well, it's the opposite. At least you know. Anyway, he's going to contest this.
A presidential race, a very important presidential race. In Pennsylvania, Democrats have gone to the state Supreme Court to try and ban our election observers.
Okay, I don't know. I'm sure you've all been watching the damn news. Okay, bro, enjoy the Chinese food. Yeah, this notion that you could be a white supremacist and just stand by and not just go away. Stay out of our politics and stay out of protests. We don't need your voice in America. He could have just said, you suck. But no, he said, stand back, stand by. That's what you tell your buddies when you're starting to get into a fight with somebody in a Cracker Barrel parking lot and you think you can handle it, but you probably can't. Stand back and stand by because I might get my ass kicked. No, it's not what you tell white supremacists if you think you're the party of inclusion. Just complete trash. Anyway, I love you, Jamie. Great to see you. And enjoy that Chinese food. I'm going to maybe lay one more fact down here in terms of these indictments. I want to see something else in this video. Let's just take a peek.
Now, we won the case, but they're going forward. They don't want anybody in there. They don't want anybody watching them as they. Okay,
this notion that the election, that the ballot counters and so forth in the election, they don't want anybody in the room while they're counting these ballots. It's a lie. It's just a bold-faced lie. There are definitely people counting ballots, and then there's Republican and Democratic election observers that are sanctioned to be in these polling places. I have heard recently that there was like one complaint that Rudy Giuliani trotted out in front of the Four Seasons total landscaping business in I think Philadelphia. Yeah, dude, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad. It was great to see you, Jamie. Yeah, please come back, and I'm not even done yet, so you can always come back and wrap this thing out. It will be here wherever you're seeing it. The fact that so Rudy they brought out like I don't know, 3 witnesses, a handful of witnesses. There was one guy who said he was a Republican ballot counting or whatever ballot counting observer or election observer, and he said he was they had to keep 6 feet away. They have a 6 foot distance due to coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2. It's in the air, and people who are counting the ballots don't want them to get infected by election observers. 6 feet, okay, there's only so much that you can actually see. I can understand that, but as far as I understand, that's even when they do have election observers, it's not like they're leaning over your shoulder and like peering down and breathing down your neck on every ballot. You're watching them for large discrepancies. Someone taking ballots, throwing them out, and yeah, maybe you ask to see something. That would be one thing I'd be curious if they say, hey, that ballot looks weird. It's done with like rainbow ink, or I don't know. Did that ever happen? Because I highly doubt it did. And whenever they find these things, the percentage of, manipulated ballots or ballots they're almost all human error, somebody who put the thing in the wrong envelope, or they accidentally voted for 2 people. It's not like, that's not fraud. It's human stupidity, which is, look, we all make mistakes. Okay. We've all like that. That's natural. That's part of humanity. Just the buffoonery of being a person. You're going to have some statistical error in these ballots, but there's no pattern. There's nothing that they don't have anything that holds a candle to the amount of votes that the victor has as a winner in each state. And that could be the votes that Trump has. It's not like this dude's not looking for any fraudulent ballots that were put in his name. If he was doing that, maybe it would be a different kind of exploration. If he was like, I want to find out if anyone illegally voted for me. Like, this dude would never say that.
Count the ballots, and I can't imagine why there's absolutely no legitimate reason why they would not want to have people watching this process.
There are people watching the process, so he's just lying.
Honestly, let's see. I really believe that.
What does he believe?
Democrat officials never believed they could win this election, honestly. I really believe that. That's why they did the mail-in ballots, where there's tremendous...
Okay, that's another lie. Like winning an election based on mail-in ballots is not dishonest. There are mail-in ballots in many states that Donald Trump won. Mail-in ballots are a huge part of, I believe, what has been holding back the vote count in Nevada. And it's really... This is the part that's frustrating, is that it's all these Republican legislatures. It's only in the places where there's a Republican legislature that I understand that came in and said, hey, you can't count the mail-in ballots until Election Day. So they created this problem of extending the vote count. Other places like Florida that had massive problems earlier in the century and said, never again. We're never going to get busted with hanging chads and ballots that where a hole was supposed to be punched or something, wasn't counted, and we're dragging this whole election out another month. Florida will not be the one that screws that up again. And look at Florida. They had tons of mail-in ballots. Is he going to go in and recount those and maybe see if, who knows, maybe there's voter fraud in Florida and we can flip it to Biden. You never know. No. So if it's not going to be an objective assessment of where there's potential fraud, then it's corruption. And that's what he's pursuing, is a corrupt attempt to overthrow or overturn the voice of the American people to win the election in his favor. And he's accusing Democrats of doing the same thing. So everything he does, it's literally just, or he accuses, it's just, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to cheat to win the election. So I'm going to say the Democrat mayors, Democrat officials never thought they could win without cheating, which is It's like, dude, you didn't think you could win without cheating.
Corruption and fraud going on.
Which is also why you said mail-in ballots will be fraudulent for months. For it seems like the whole year you've been saying mail-in ballots totally untrustworthy. What about the mail-in ballots in Florida? Is that a thing that you're concerned about, the trustworthiness of those?
That's why they mailed out tens of millions of unsolicited ballots without any verification measures whatsoever.
Okay, that's also bullshit. Look, if you're registered to vote, then there's a ballot in your name waiting at any polling place. So then why not just have it actually, there's a number of states, especially states that have smaller populations and that have been doing this for years, that do send out ballots to every registered voter. And I think they should do that every damn election. Screw going into I don't want to have to deal with going to the polls. It should be that way. And if you look at the ballots, the way it's designed, that like the size of the ballot, there's this white or some kind of special ink on the inner envelope, and it's a completely non-standard envelope size that fits the ballot perfectly, and then that goes inside a larger outer envelope. Like that's the way it's done in New York. Like it'd be extraordinarily difficult to fraudulently get one of those ballots, reproduce it in time for an election. Yeah. And then also because you have the person's signature, you have the whole identity that you're checking it against. We should just be sending the stuff in, a month early across the board, counting it as soon as stuff comes in. So when election day comes, all the numbers are there. This problem of an extended count was created by Republicans. It was created by Donald Trump and his cronies to create a situation where there is uncertainty, and then to insert yourself into it and say, look, see how they haven't counted everything yet? It's fraud. No, it's by design. It's something that you did. You created this. It's not fraud. It's your fraud. Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about politics this much, but
that these things would happen because I've seen it happen.
You haven't seen shit. He's seen.
Democrat machine for a long time.
Dude. No.
Went to school there. And
No.
I know a lot about it hasn't changed. It's a long time ago. And
Oh, wait a second. So because you went to school in Pennsylvania, from the corrupt practices you witnessed, 50 years ago, 60 years ago in Pennsylvania, that it's the same corruption that you saw when you were going to college there because you were observing vote counting? Are you kidding me? You
it's gotten worse.
bloated piece of
Partisan
bird
Democrats
shit?
have allowed ballots in the state to be received 3 days after the election, and we think much more than that. And they
You think much more than that. There's zero evidence in this entire
just to block their views,
bloviating,
so they couldn't see what they were doing. And
lie-filled
a
screed.
little bit dangerous.
A little bit dangerous?
One
Okay.
major hub for counting ballots in Detroit covered up the windows again with
Yeah, because
large pieces of
outside
card-
observers aren't entitled to be looking in at people doing their jobs. They have people inside the facility. Anyway, I don't have to repeat all these lies, but it's historic,
we think
the amount of deception, corruption, and disinformation and lies this guy is spewing throughout this entire speech. I mean, it's vitriol, and it's disgusting, and it's anti-American what he's doing. I mean, it's not in the spirit of anything that has to do with our tradition in this country of, one, the peaceful transfer of power, but two, the sacrosanct nature of our elections. I mean, the guy is trying to sow all these seeds of discord that are entirely of his own making.
because we can't have an election stolen like this. And I tell you, I have been talking about this.
So we can't have an election stolen like this. That means we can only have an election stolen the way that I steal an election, which is by me suspecting them of conspiracies that don't exist and then trying to prosecute them and trying to decide the election in the Supreme Court, not by the American people, because you've lost the election. So the election is in the process of being stolen. You're attempting to steal it now, but it wasn't stolen. So anyway, that's, you may take it with a grain of salt. It's just an uncle's perspective.
For that in
But
our country. Thank you very much.
yeah, you're not welcome, bro. Leave the White House immediately. You're gross. You're sick man. So anyway, that's if you didn't see it, now you've seen it probably enough. But yeah, I encourage you to go out and find that yourself. The Trump Organization, alleged insurance and bank fraud by the Trump Organization and its officers, which does include people like, Trump's sons, Don Jr., Eric. They should be looking out. I think they know that, and they are terrified. They should be terrified because there's no pardon power, pardonability when you're accused of state crimes. There's no weaseling your way out of this. So, yeah, Trump and Trump Inc. and its officers could very well be secretly indicted and secretly charged. And the Manhattan District Attorney, Cyrus Vance Jr., look, the dude, he did get permission to access Trump's tax records. I don't know if you remember that, but there was been this whole fight, and they did finally win access to them. But it's not for the sake of revealing them to the American people. It's for the sake of a criminal investigation. So some details may come out in the indictments. We'll see. I don't know exactly how that process works, but I do know that the grand jurors are still functioning in courts across America, in New York, where this would be happening, and this is a scene here in New York State Court, not the actual the grand jury that would be judging necessarily Donald Trump, but these are proceedings that they have coronavirus restrictions, so they have people separated by 6 feet and they're masked up, but they're there. They're ready to do their duty. So yeah, it's a what do they say? They say a sword and a shield. I'm sorry, I thought I had this image on here that you guys could see this. And if you can't see it, just imagine a courtroom. If you're blind or if you're listening to this. Yeah, so this is a quote here from I believe this is from Cyrus Vance. Let's see who says this now. Oh no, okay, this is from another fellow, from another district attorney who oversaw one of Vance's cases. He says, if the DA believes he has enough evidence to charge the president, and he believes that he has evidence now or some point before the election, my best guess is that he would do the responsible thing and not influence the outcome of the election by making public the fact that he has this warrant for his arrest, said Daniel R. Alonzo, former chief assistant district attorney who oversaw every case in Vance's office between 2010 and 2014. So, yeah, we all know that if there's an indictment of Donald Trump, which it's likely that there is, that it's sealed. That's the likelihood. He would keep it under seal until after the election. And by stretching out the election, Donald Trump is delaying the arrival of these indictments and also his departure from the White House. So, very curious to know how this would play out. New York, they say, has the nation's oldest grand jury. We'll see. We're going to see what plays out, how it plays out. Grand jury subpoena. What's interesting, so these final quotes, I think, there's something interesting here that we can also talk about. So So why do we know that there are indictments coming? There were filings this year, mid-year, and even as recently as this was in August of 2019, so that was last year, that the president's accounting firm, Mazars USA LLP, was asked to supply his tax documents and his financial holdings. And they were issued a subpoena a year ago in connection with a complex financial investigation regarding alleged insurance and bank fraud by the Trump organization and its officers. So we know that this whole thing about Trump releasing his taxes and how the Supreme Court said he has to release it, and it's not even him. His accounting firm has to release all the financial data because he's under his Trump organization's under investigation for crimes, and I guess this grand inquest into evidence is part of why we've had this time-honored tradition where you have to provide evidence to prove that someone has or hasn't done the crime. Now, in usual fashion, what they say with these grand jury subpoenas is that, for one, it's highly unlikely that the grand jury knows what it's even about. Like, if you've been selected as the 23 people who are going to appear, like, you don't even know if you're part of the president's trial. But they say in the majority of cases that in this section, criminal defendants are arrested by police before any evidence is brought before a grand jury. So they're talking about street crimes. So that will be instances where they would definitely not do a sealed indictment. They would just arrest somebody who is, say, accused of sex trafficking or of shooting somebody or of selling drugs or whatever street crime it might be. But in this case, because they can't easily pick up a sitting president, when it comes down to it, they wait with a sealed indictment, and the moment that they have the green light, like the president is out of the office, he said, this is the quote from the DA, he says, we're not even asking them, you're simply telling them, there's a former chief prosecutor who said, we're not asking them, you're simply telling them they don't get to say no once this begins. Once the investigation is on, he said, I rip off subpoenas, which means I crank out subpoenas. He's not ripping them. He's not stealing them. He rips them off. He's an agent of the grand jury, and that means subpoenas start blasting out. And these are ones that, in the past, Donald Trump has ducked a lot of subpoenas from Congress because he used his presidential office, his power, his authority to do that. But now, once he's out, he can't duck. He's not a sitting president. If you're a former president, it doesn't matter. Your Secret Service detail can't block indictments from hitting you. You get smacked, and or subpoenas for that matter. So the indictments come out, the subpoenas come out. He has to appear along with officers of the Trump organization. It could be, his sons. It could be Ivanka. Yeah. And apparently they're saying they can't accept hearsay witnesses. I don't know what relevance that is. I mean, I'm sure, they're talking about Michael Cohen is very likely to reappear if and when Donald Trump is indicted. That dude is not a hearsay witness. He's been directly working with and for the president and detailed numerous what seemed like campaign violations and crimes. So yeah, very curious to see how that plays out. Now, we've been going at this for a minute now, and by a minute, that's a little over an hour. And is there anything else helpful in this article? Their closing statements here. apparently there are sealed indictments that have been sealed and waiting for people, I guess for people who've disappeared, because I don't know why else they would be waiting. But they said they have open warrants for sealed indictments going back to the 1970s. That's crazy. The risk of unsealing the indictment now or a year ago or whatever, when he started the investigation and they said this guy's a suspect, is that if he does that, then he's got to wait another year and a half or 2 years worth of litigation to go before the United States Supreme Court to decide whether or not you can even charge a sitting president. So rather than bring that question up and just say, hey, can we solve this problem that a very litigious president who's fought everything he possibly can, tooth and nail in courts, is going to certainly fight. Can we open this up in the Supreme Court and maybe take years to try to resolve an issue and maybe not even resolve it and let the statute of limitations run out? No, it's not worth it. Avoid that crap. You just hold on to that indictment, wait till the moment Trump walks out of office. Boom. That's it. There is a risk that if Trump didn't leave office, if he somehow finagled his way to stay in, held a coup, got the Proud Boys involved, burned down Capitol building or something and caused a bunch of chaos. And I don't, there's no way he's going to commandeer the entire military. It's highly unlikely. So he's walking out, he's getting smacked. So if there's any way that he can steal this election, it's worth it to him to avoid going to jail or prison, as it might be. Interesting. Yeah, so let's see. They're saying he could be arraigned remotely, but because he's already had COVID-19, I think, even by his own admission, you could argue that, like he said, I'm ostensibly immune. You can arraign me in person. I'll, bring him in. The dude you can bring him in. There's no instances that I've heard of people being reinfected and spreading the disease, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. They said they could send an NYPD officer to the White House to fingerprint Donald Trump. That would be a very interesting way to leave the White House, is with fingerprint ink from the NYPD all over the decision desk. I wouldn't be shocked if he did that. I also wouldn't be shocked if he rubbed his nose or his face and he walked out of the White House with blackface on. So I wouldn't put it past him. It's Donald Trump. Dude will do whatever it takes to evade the law. So I guess that brings us to the final chapter. I was going to talk about lethal loneliness, but I think it's just too much now. I think we're going to jump to I'm going to address this because I have a loneliness is deadly. We've learned this. Actually, it's a real thing. There's a piece from this is from the reporter Nicholas Kristof, who wrote that loneliness is more lethal than smoking 15 cigarettes in a day. It's more deadly than obesity, which kills an average of 450,000 a year. Now, I believe this is reported in the New York Times. It's talking about the epidemic of loneliness, and this is from last year, from 2019. So before we got into this sad situation that we're in with social isolation, with spatial isolation for the coronavirus, we knew that being isolated was dangerous. So on top of the damage that the virus has done, and anything questioning that people might have and saying it's a hoax, we know for sure that the isolation itself and the loneliness caused by being separated from people is deadly. And I don't think anybody wants that to continue. It's a problem in this country and in others. They're saying, yeah, loneliness is huge. It's bigger than obesity, and obesity is literally hugeness. So apparently it causes, increases inflammation. It worsens heart disease, dementia, and death rates. So I think we need to break through this virus. We need to it's great that there's apparently some very effective vaccines starting to come out, but they're going to take months, if not a year or longer, to be reproduced and distributed properly. And so it's going to be a while. I mean, I asked my doctor if she can snag me any kind of early sample of the vaccine. I'm sure that's going to happen too. Is people trying to use their influence. Donald Trump maybe trying to use his influence to get vaccine doses that he can give out to people who fight for him. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it past a lot of people who had the money and the power to get an early dose or be part of the first group. People, you watch people cutting in line on a ride at Kings Island or Six Flags Great Adventure, or if you're in Ohio, Six Flags Great America, because there is no adventure, there's just America. And when people cut in line, when people cheat and they try to get get something before you, it's human nature. So lastly, speaking of loneliness, life on Venus. Yeah, I'm back. I don't know if I even disappeared for you, but I'm back in effect. And if you're watching this, if you're seeing this on Facebook, I see there's 17,462 people. Feel free to to chime in. Now, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by this streaming platform that crashed. Life on Venus may be a real thing. We don't know. I have to find a place to put that. And it looks like we have the after effect of life. We have this phosphine gas is found on Venus. You have to pardon me here. I don't know what happens when I'm sitting here for over an hour and everything's kind of slides. Do a lot of slippy sliding. Phosphine gas, which smells like a corpse's excrement, was found on Venus. And Venus, it's the brightest object in the night sky after the moon, has intrigued humans for thousands of years. It even causes me to have a little bit of indigestion. It's so powerful, full of this phosphine gas. And discovering the phosphine in its atmosphere has just made it possibly a more attractive planet for human inhabitants. Part of the reason is because phosphine is, although it's toxic to any life on Earth, especially anything that uses oxygen, including humans, it is something that was used as chemical warfare in World War I. Okay, I'm not seeing where this is a good thing. I know I said it was good. How is that good? It's been associated with human industry, human, pesticides, the creation of, I guess, chemical weapons, and apparently life in oxygen-free environments is also a place where you're going to find phosphine gas. So that means that there's life in Venus's atmosphere, possibly. It's often found coming out of swamps, marshes, and sludges. I didn't know sludges was a thing. Has anyone encountered a sludge? Because I've definitely found sludge, some goo oozing out of a sewer mud is what I would call it, or sludge. But apparently this phosphine, it bubbles up out of swamps and sludges and marshes. And it's also found in animal guts and excrement. So maybe a lot of animals took a shit on Venus, is what they're saying. Relatively high concentrations of phosphine are found floating over penguin colonies. So for all we know, Venus could be not just the place where women are from. They say women are from Venus. Yeah, women are from Venus and men are from Mars. It turns out maybe penguins are from Venus. And they've been farting up a storm or shitting up a storm, whatever causes the phosphine to float over a penguin colony. It can also come from a complex mixture of bacteria in a lab. So anyway, you may feel lonely, but for all we know, there's penguins or the bacteria that grows on penguin poop just riddling Venus's atmosphere. And if that's not enough for you, I don't know what is. Don't feel so lonely. There's other life out there. It was discovered, this is my final note, just a fun note to wrap up on, that our Milky Way, this is a quote from an article, our Milky Way has as many as 400 billion stars, with 7% of them being G-type. And that means that less than 6 billion stars may have Earth-like planets in our galaxy. I got to go get that. There's food coming. Just hang out here for a second. I'll be back. Yo, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the KEVID19 Show, Episode 5. Bye, bitch. And I'll catch you on the next one. This is very fun. I got to go pick up that food. Don't forget to take care of yourself, your health, and make sure that your vote was counted. You can look it up if you voted in the election. If you didn't, don't waste your time. All right, till next time, I'm Kevin Berrey, your host. This has been a delightful edition of KEVID19. You can find it at KEVID19.com. Very simple. And till next time.